Okay, I'm calling to order this regular meeting of the Cordova Recreation and Park District Board on May 25th, 2022, and the time is 6:32. Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Thank you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. I'd like to welcome our Director of Parks and Recreation, Jill Nuns.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sing up there, please. So, and I sent out a nice note to the staff to let them know about this amazing announcement. This past week, we were at a CRPD conference, and Jill was nominated for the Outstanding District Employee of the Year award, and she won. Of course she did. So here's a quote from Jill as a part of the nomination. COVID did not slow us down. We continue to thrive through these unprecedented times. This shows me how powerful our Parks and Recreation Department really is. This quote demonstrates the leadership mindset I greatly appreciate and value with Jill as a Director of Parks and Recreation. Jill consistently demonstrates strong leadership skills, teamwork, and her approach to coaching her staff, and addressing these issues and processes through thoughtful, respectful, and professional ways. She has been instrumental in addressing challenges during COVID restrictions regarding concerns with CRPD systems and staff looking for ways to improve the conditions. She is very passionate about the Parks and Recreation field, and it is demonstrated through her numerous accomplishments. So congratulations, Jill, well deserved. So we'll be doing a photo. Once we go down, we're gonna do a photo with you and the board, as well as we're gonna do some other photo opportunities in a little bit. Thank you.
And thanks to this great, amazing team.
Well, I just, very briefly want to say, Jill, I can't think of a single time when you haven't performed above and beyond for this district. So this award is so well-deserved, and we are more than proud of you, but we also know exactly why you got this award. It's really well-deserved. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Director Sloan?
Here.
Director Dansel?
Here.
Secretary Yearwood?
Here.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Here.
And Chair Lineback?
Here. Okay, now we move on to item B, comments by the public on non-agenda items.
Thank you. Members of the public may address the board on district topics not listed on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. It's a violation of state law for the board to discuss or take action on non-agenda items. Board members may only briefly ask clarifying questions or refer the matter to staff. And I do not have any requests.
Okay, thank you. And so we'll move on to item C, our consent calendar.
Thank you. Consent calendar items are considered administratively routine and will be acted upon in one motion unless separate action on a specific item is necessary. The chairperson will consider any request for discussion on the items prior to approval of the consent calendar. This evening we have 7 items for your consideration, and I would like to pull item C1 for a separate vote, please.
Okay, and do any other directors have anything they'd like to pull or ask a question about? Okay, so
I'll move that we approve consent calendar C2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
thank you, Vice Chair Reyes.
Second.
Thank you, Director Danzel. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Dansel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. And now for item C1,
I'll make a motion that we approve consent calendar item C1.
thank you, Secretary Yearwood.
Second.
Thank you, Director Danzel. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Dansel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Abstain.
And Chair Lineback.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so we move on to item D, presentations.
Thank you. Item D1 is a presentation of the USA Softball of Sacramento Grant Award, and I'd like to welcome to the podium to get us started Recreation Coordinator Tyler Evanoff.
Good evening, Chair Lineback and board members. Thanks for having us here. We're really excited to get this grant funding from the USA Softball from Sacramento. And I would like to present Jeff Morrow.
Thanks, Tom. Good evening. Hi, my name is Jeff Morrow, and I'm the newly appointed Commissioner of USA Softball of Sacramento, also known as the Greater Sacramento Softball Association. We are the grassroots organization that works with all of our member agencies to provide recreational and competitive softball leagues and tournaments for both youth and adults throughout the Greater Sacramento area. We are one of 64 state and/or metro associations of USA Softball, which is the national governing body of softball in the United States. USA Softball also is the pipeline for all of the USA national teams, including the USA Olympic women's team. And as a matter of fact, at the last Olympics in Tokyo, we had 2 Sacramento area players representing the Olympic team from, that won the gold medal in Tokyo. So we're quite happy and quite proud of having 2 players from the Sacramento area participating in the Olympics this past year. Currently, the Greater Sacramento Softball Association has nearly 10,000 youth and coaches, along with about 1,200 adult teams participating throughout the Greater Sacramento area. Actually, the Greater Sacramento Softball Association is probably one of the strongest and largest associations for USA Softball throughout the United States. We work with 36 different member agencies, and our boundaries are fairly large. We go from Dixon and Winters to our west, South Lake Tahoe and Truckee to the east, Woodland to the north, and Lodi and Jackson and Amador areas to the south. All in all, we work with member agencies from about 7 different counties. As a commissioner, I get to deal with some good things and sometimes not so good things, but tonight I get to do some of the things that I really enjoy, and that is to assist one of our member agencies in softball field improvements. As over the last 20 years, the Greater Sacramento Softball Association has assisted our member agencies with nearly $250,000 in softball improvements. And we're really proud that we're able to give a hand up to our member agencies to help continue the softball program throughout this area. Today, I'm here to award Cordova Recreation and Park District, one of our 2022 Agency Grant Award recipients, $1,500 to help make improvements to their softball facilities. Congratulations on the grant award, and I'd love when you have a chance to be able to take a photo op. I brought one of our little checks that if someone can take a picture.
Yeah, we were gonna all take a picture with you. How about that?
That would be great. We'd love it.
Yeah, and thank you for coming out and honoring us with that grant award. So if we could have the board go down, and if you could stay down after this photo op, we're gonna take additional photos for the CRPD award for the pool, as well as a special picture with Jill.
doing good. He's had hip surgery and has a little knee injury that he's working on right now. But he's still playing golf. Still getting out there and playing golf. So,
Thank you so much.
thank you. I appreciate it.
So we'll have the board stay up, and then we'll start with, we'll have the first award with the pool, so Laura, you're up here as well. Do we have a big check? And Jill, you're on this. So, we have Terry, hold the black sheet. And Senator Moore, you want to come on this side?
Thank you.
I'm not tall enough to be in the back.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Jeff said he wasn't going to take too much time.
So also in addition to the plaque, she gets the Coveted Pickle Award. What is this? Come on, you want us to hold you? So we're gonna turn it into an actual earring for Jill though. It'll be a pickle. What?
Done.
Cake for everyone.
Look at that, done, done, done. That needs to say the front was big.
It looks fine. We can photo.
Okay, the fun stuff is over. Now we get down to the serious stuff. Come on, let's whip through this part. Item D2, another presentation.
Thank you. Item D2 is a staff presentation of the S&P Global Bond Ratings Report for the Cordova Recreation and Park District, and I'll turn it over to CFO Goodell.
All right. The fun stuff's over. Come on. All right, good evening, Chair Linebacker
I
and
just
board
want
members.
to say that when you adjusted that microphone, it sounded like a snore.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Or. All right, so 10 years ago, I started here 10 years ago, and I put together some goals, and one of them was to get a business credit rating because since 1958, we did not have one, which was odd. We weren't ready. And so fast forward 6 years to 2018, we decided to go for it, thinking that, okay, they're gonna look back 3 years. Nope, they looked back 7 years of our financial history. And so we had to have some really candid, honest conversations, right? I mean, they looked at every major financial transaction. They looked at our culture, our economy, who we were, and we had to go through it all. And it was rigorous, but it was worth it because they ended up giving us a BBB+ rating at that time, which was fantastic. It was investment grade, so we could participate in the bond market and then get funds for our pool projects. That was great. Well, 4 years later, just a couple months ago, S&P called and said, hey, what's going on? How are you guys doing? To get an update. And so they said they're checking in because a lot of, pandemics going on. I don't know if you heard about that, but I said, well, let's take a look last 4 years. We've had about 90 projects, including a major pool renovation. We put about $15 million back into our park system. We're maintaining COLAs for our staff as we go through this inflation thing and maintaining operations. And we pivoted and handled the pandemic quite well. And we still built our reserves. And they're like, what? I said, all right. And so we went back and forth. We went through the financial transactions, the audits, and we talked it through. And they said, all right, we got one more call. We'll call you back. So they did. And they said, all right, the committee met and we made a decision. I'm all, decision? What was the decision? Like, well, your rating could go up, down, or stay the same. I'm like, okay. And so they decided to change our rating, and they went to Vanna. A minus. I had to bring a check. I mean, they brought a check, so I had to bring a check. I had budget for it. So, yeah, it's fantastic, right? Yeah. So it's all great news. It just speaks to who we are financially. I mean, you have S&P, say that, we're getting better when times are bad. I mean, that's pretty crazy to say that. So it's just nice to have an investing organization say good things about us. So, yeah.
I'd like,
All right.
Awesome.
We get a picture? No picture? No.
no, Matt, you know what that speaks to, I think? Being here with the previous 7 years and all that. But I think that speaks to planning. I really, and setting sights and setting goals. Because I don't believe we did any of that before, you know? It's one thing to get educated and say, okay, now, this is the picture, here's what we want to do, and how we kept focusing on saying, let's build reserves. And it just so seemed to be that even with everything happening with the pandemic, we knew when opportunities were there, and we took it, and some calculated risks on the bond, and you know what I mean? But really, I think it's because as we moved this way or that way, we were checking something. So I mean, leadership, managers, leadership, yourself, keeping us, saying this is what we're trying to do, this is the thermometer, this is where, you know what I mean? And, and Patrick, I think that had a lot to do. So that when the monies came in, it wasn't just a matter of, because I've seen it, I've been there where the money comes in and they just pay this, pay that, put it away, and they're not even thinking, at that point, they weren't even thinking that, wait a minute, this has a restricted thing. No, they just used it to pay that, that'll pay it back, and that was wrong. So I had a very big challenge when I joined the board. I asked for a 5-year projection or plan. And they said they don't do that. Huh? Mr. Greg Fell, who was there, said they don't do that. I said, what do you mean they don't do that? Every business can do it. Well, because we never know how much taxes we're going to get. Well, then I said, well, then maintain what you're getting now and see how you're going to work it in. But that was really shocking to me that they never did or cared or knew how to do that. So I just wanted to say, even the board, I mean, this is a whole team, you happen to be the one there with the boxes that we all agreed to work on. But you kept bringing it up and we all remembered, because there was a plan. So I just wanted to say, that A minus is really, really a very big medal. It really tells us we can go to A plus if we wanted to. And it also tells us that for the last few years, the board and management and leadership here have really worked well together. So kudos to you all, kudos to my board members, but I think that's the reason why, because we always had a picture we were going for. Thank
This
you.
team today is really incredible, and we're in tune with the community and
Yeah.
what's going on, and we just we kill it. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Any other nice things to say? Or are we good? All right.
Well, just thank you, Inez, for putting that so well. And is that going up in your office, Matt, or?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
We can do one after our meeting tonight. We'll do as we're departing. But
camera
thank you, Matt. It was,
better be here. That's a good job.
it's amazing.
Yep.
It really is a lot of effort, so thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, everyone.
Okay, so actually, we are now on to item E, committee reports.
Thank you. Item E1 is a standing committee, Budget and Finance, on May 11th, and that is Chair Lineback and Vice Chair Reyes.
Yes, thank you. Would you like to go first?
Sure, no problem. I have my, okay, we had a Budget and Finance Standing Committee on Wednesday, May 11th. And it was really very, very interesting. It was very good to see. You know, we had 3 discussion items, the C1, which is reviewing proposed fiscal year, preliminary budget, S&P Global Bond Ratings Report, which was a great news, and the district fee schedule update. And with regards to the district fee schedule, I put it down. I noted it very much. The district fee schedule update, which we are going to be, I guess, addressing even, acting on today. No, we're not, okay, just going to be presented? No, not at all. Okay, but the district fee schedule reflects hard work. It really does. It reflects hard work of staff to see to it that their responsibility to recover costs was very important. At the same time, it also was with conscience to see to it that all our programs were open and accessible to all. It's challenging when you have to raise fees, but then again, go anywhere and everywhere and everything, even gas has gone up, but it's challenging to do that. And what I experienced was staff had to put in a lot of time because they took that which could take it and understand, and they kept that which they felt they would like to see to it was not out of the reach of our community and our residents. So I saw that. It wasn't just a matter of, hey, you know, straight down the line, it's got to go up this way, the same way it's gone. And that's real important. Jill, you guys did a good job, you know, and I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited to share it with my board when it comes, because I feel very confident that wherever we have needed to increase, it is straight out to recover the costs so that we are good stewards for our district.
Okay, all right, so I will speak a little bit to the proposed fiscal year 2022-23 preliminary budget, which we're going to have a workshop on next month. But the, you know, the bottom line, if you will excuse the phrase, is that there will be no expenditure of reserves planned in the next fiscal year. However, not an increase in the reserves either. And that is not a bad thing. The reserves will appear to have increased at the end of the year more than budgeted due to projects that just couldn't be completed in this year, and they will carry over into next year, but they will be using the same funds that were allocated this year will be used next year, so there won't be any additional expenditures to carry those projects forward. They'll just use the funds they didn't use this year. And it, you know, is a, you know, safe and sane budget. And then, of course, the S&P bond ratings, we've already received, you know, the report on, which was excellent news. It's good to get that validation. I hope we don't need it in order to borrow more money. That's coming from me personally, but we're glad to see that and extremely proud of the work that's being done in the financial department of the district and in the support that the other departments have for those goals that are set, you know, in the financial area. So thank you very much. That's my report. And now we move on to item E2.
Thank you. Item E2 is a standing committee report on the Capital Improvement and Park Construction Committee from May 11th, and that's Secretary Yearwood and Director Sloan.
We were privileged to see a very wonderful slide presentation, PowerPoint from Mr. Goodell, the PowerPoint master wizard. And it showed before and after shots. And, I'm really into those before and after shots because I like to see where we were and where we are now. And the district has gone through a lot of renovation projects where if you really didn't, know how bad it looked, you would never, you probably walked in there and said, it looks fine. But if you didn't know what it looked like before, you go, wow, it's great. And like stuff we did out at the golf course, cleaning up the shed where we store all the carts, the cart barn. We went over all these different projects one by one where Matt had shown before and after shots. Garage door replacements, let's go beyond. We did things out at the Hagen Community Park the center where we have. He showed how the roof was before and after, and it was nice to see because now I know how to do a roof if I ever have a community center that needs a roof replaced. Yeah, yes. But I think remember that director, our what's your name again? Chairperson Terry Leinbach was concerned that the PMRID Oversight Committee was seeing all these things at first before the directors saw it. So I thought that was the idea to come up with this committee, so that the directors, so we have a chance to see it in process before. So that seems the logical step, that it would go from the directors into the PMRID committee and then back to us, kind of a thing. We would talk it over. But I was just amazed at how many, these are little projects that we were able to do. And so we also discussed the capital improvement? What are the main, I'm trying to find that list you had here, Matt. There was a list that showed, oh my God, how long was this PowerPoint, Matt? Oh, here it is. So our plan for 2022 and 2023, where we've got Arista del Sol Community Park, Mather Sports Center, replacement of the infields, a Rosemont revitalization of tennis courts, and might I say, Larchmont Community Park tennis courts look fabulous. They're the talk of my neighborhood, and they don't even know. Now where I live, Riviera East is going, well, what about ours? So all I can say is, I guess I'm going to go play on them. I guess I'll have to go play on them. We also have the Taylor enclosed irrigation, all these little projects. So we could see, although I didn't see, I like to have them in order of priorities, because we also talked about danger projects, dangerous ones, emergency projects, and they always have priority over the ones that we need to replace that turf over there or something. But all in all, it was very enlightening, and I think every director should have this PowerPoint on their laptop by the end of this evening. Yearwood, what do you got?
Well, Sloan, you said it all, except for what I wrote down. No, just kidding.
Oh, good.
It was very nice. It was very informative. Yes, the PowerPoint was excellent. The transition from slide to slide was amazing. Matt even thought that and commented about it. But it was nice to see the chart of what projects have been done, kind of where some of them were at. The fact that some are going to have to be pushed into next year for supply chain issues and different things like that. And then 22, 23 is more of a modest list, but including the projects that are carrying over from this year. So it was nice to see. I agree. It's nice to see the before and afters. The Sunridge Park, play surface, whatever that's called. That looks amazing. So it was good to, it was, we discussed kind of the progress, how this is all gonna work out in the future years, and so everybody gets a chance to see it before we go to making decisions and things like that. So that was nice. It was a nice kind of introduction to all of that, bringing the CIP back, so, or the standing committee back, so. That's all I got.
I'd like to add a comment if I can. Because I really want to thank Parks and Golf and Planning. Because you talk about the pictures, they're really good about capturing the before and the after. And so it's a fantastic group. I threw it out there, hey, I need pictures for this. And like they immediately came back with all of them. And so it's just, yeah, it's amazing. So we definitely will keep track of all our projects, before and after moving forward. So
The backswing and the finish.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Now, item F is public hearings, of which there are none. So we will move on to item G, regular calendar items.
Thank you. Item G1 is to authorize the general manager to execute a consultant services contract with Gates and Associates Incorporated in the amount of $277,750 for the Cordova Recreation and Park District's Parks, Facilities, and Recreation Optimized Plan. And I'll turn it over to Planning Manager Laura Taylor.
Good evening, Chair Lineback and members of the board. Very excited to present this for your consideration tonight. On January 19th of 2022, the Board of Directors approved the request for qualifications, request for proposals, or RFQ, RFP, for consultant services to prepare an optimized plan for the district. At that point, then the board approved it, and the district staff advertised the RFQ, RFP in the Sacramento Bee. And we also sent out the notice to landscape architectural and planning firms that are on our qualified consultant list. 3 proposals were received. CRPD staff formed a committee of 5, including 4 CRPD management team members and a representative from an outside agency, Cosumnes Community Services District. And also 2 of the committee members were also residents of the CRPD jurisdiction. So after interviewing the 3 firms, the committee determined that Gates and Associates Incorporated is the most qualified firm. And Dana Falk is here tonight in the audience to support staff in this recommendation to award this contract. And as far as the finances of this project, the funding is in the 21-22 fiscal year budget for $250,000. We anticipate that the project will have an 18-month time period, and so it will carry over into the next 2 fiscal years. Fiscal year 22-23 budget will include a request for the additional $27,750 needed to fully fund this contract. And so if the board approves this recommendation, then the general manager will sign the contract and the consultant will begin work with the CRPD staff. The community and outreach and the document development is, like I said, we plan to take about 18 months. And so I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Director Sloan, do you have any questions or comments?
I was trying to look at some of the, have they done other parks for us in our district?
I'm sorry, say that
Have they
again?
done parks in our district? Other parks?
Say that again?
Have they done other parks?
Have they, oh yes, Gates and Associates has done work previously for the district on other projects. The things that I'm most familiar with is they prepared the capital improvement plan, capital costs of all the line items that are currently within our Nexus study. So that's the biggest body of work that I'm familiar with, and that has really held up and stood the test of time as, we've implemented our Nexus study for the projects within the city of Rancho Cordova.
Great. Thank you.
Director Danzel?
Yeah, this was a fun document to read. I mean, I was like, is it going to end? It is longer than the board package, right, Ms. Jones? Okay, just checking my math. I saw some things and once I reread them, I'm okay with it. At this time, I'm not seeing anything that I really, really need to question. I understand the time periods and I understand the dollar amounts, so I know that some of the other directors are definitely going to have some questions to it, but like I said, it took a while to read through this document, and I understand why. It is essentially it's a master plan. So, I mean, we're just under a new name. It's a new decade, so we're going to call it something new just to change and skirt the heads of the board members. Because I think this is, well, at least the second one I've gone through. If this will be the third one in the 12 years I've been here. So it looks very similar to what was done before. It's just an updated version. So thank you.
Vice Chair Yearwood, or could be Secretary Yearwood.
Well, thank you for the promotion.
You're welcome. Are you?
Can you just give me an overview of the entire document? Just kidding. Just kidding. I have no questions.
I have no questions. I mean, like Chair Denzel said, it was a lot of reading to be done. But in going through it and looking at it, one of the biggest things that I've seen staff has done real well is to see to it that some of the values that we have, and that we have embraced, such as community outreach, such as surveys, such as, I mean, literally going out there, talking, getting feedback, all that seemed to be there. So I'm happy with that. And again, I like plans because if you don't have a roadmap, you don't know where you're going, you don't know whether you've arrived. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the process. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. And I do remember when we did our first one, when I had joined the board in 2006 or something, and they were working something. There was, and I'm just looking at Chair Lineback because there was later on in my report, in LAFCO, they were talking about the MSRs, okay? And I remember at that time it was like, I can't remember which one was our administrator, but I'm like, listen, I was on the LAFCO board, and they mentioned something about an MSR. And so at that time, we didn't do it, we hadn't done it. And so they were saying, it's something, the information you can get from this study. So I'm excited about that because I think it will make staff's life a lot easier. And I do know that it may be coming up as requirements, to be provided. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. One, I was impressed by the scope of what's going to be covered in this optimized plan. I was wanting to see that the recreation component would be included fully as a part of this study, and it appears that it will be, which I genuinely appreciate. A lot of master plans strictly have to do with park amenities and, things of that sort. And I don't think that there's been a master plan that included the unincorporated area in more than a couple of decades, so it's high time. I, too, appreciate the amount of outreach that's going to happen as a part of this process and the request for input from various stakeholders. And in that vein, it will be my intention, by the way, to appoint on an ad hoc basis a member of this board to be a part of the stakeholders group, because I don't like it when the first time the board sees a major item is the finished product. I think a board should be a part of seeing what went into its development. So to that end, I have asked Director Danzel if he would be willing to take on that role, and he has agreed. I'm assuming that won't be an appointment that will happen until a stakeholders group is established. But, so I won't make that as a formal, unless I should, I don't know. Am I allowed to?
It wasn't agendized, and so I think as soon as we get closer, we can certainly add that to an agenda.
Okay, all right. But that's my intention, at any rate, is to involve the board as a part of the stakeholders process, because certainly the board is a stakeholder in a new master plan for the district. But I was impressed by Gates and Associates' response to the RFP, RFQ. It ticked off the boxes I would have asked to be ticked off, so I appreciate that very much. And those are my comments. So I'll call for a motion.
Chair Lineback, if I would like to move that we authorize the general manager to execute the consultant services contract with Gates and Associates, Inc. in the amount of $277,750 for the Cordova Recreation and Park District's Parks, Facilities, and Recreation Optimized Plan.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes.
Second.
Thank you, Director Danzel. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we move on to item G2.
Thank you. Item G2 is to adopt amendments to the Personnel Policies Employee Handbook, Section 5.0, Benefits, Subsection 5.16, Employee Wellness.
Yeah, and I would like to add that we are reviewing the amended version that was put out on this policy.
That's
here.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to welcome HR Manager Andrea White.
Thank you, Chair Lineback and Board of Directors. I am going over the amended staff report. Every board member should have this. It says so on the top in red. So if you wouldn't mind looking at what we have in this document. What I would like to do is talk about what this staff report has, because I know you haven't had a lot of time to review it, and what's the difference between what we have here and what we proposed or what was in your board package. And then, of course, answer any questions that you might have. So in this staff report, this is an amendment to the Employee Handbook, Personnel Policies, under Section 5.0, Benefits, and the subsection 5.16, Employee Wellness. And the reason why we brought this to the board today is that we would like to include an employee wellness, and we already have an employee wellness policy where district employees can have the use for their wellness, the use of Mather Sports Center, the Cordova Golf Course, and a small percentage discount on recreation programs. We'd like to include the use of the Cordova pools, so that would be Cordova Community Pool and Lincoln Village Pool. It would be a summer pass, and as per the rest of our existing policy, it's only for current employees, and if employees were not employed for 30 or more days or had time off for 30 or more days, then that, like any of the benefit, would not be available. And so I want to talk to you about why we are putting this in here. Of course, employee wellness, there's a lot that you can read about why employee wellness is important. It is offering employees a means and opportunities for wellness, promote healthier, more productive work environment. It can augment productivity, increase employee retention, and of course, it's known that it can also actually reduce costs in employee health benefits by having a healthier, happier employee. And of course, we want our really hardworking employees to be happy, and we want retention. And we're hoping that since the pools are open now, which is why we're bringing this to you before our policy committee. In your original staff report, we included the board members to also be able to use the wellness, and because board members often can have health and wellness benefits provided by the district. But we would like to explore that a little bit more, have a little bit more feedback from our legal counsel, and bring that to the policy committee, which is going to be convening, I believe it's tentative, or it may be confirmed on June 27th at 11 a.m. So I'm not dropping the idea. I think that we would like to discuss it in that policy committee. The reason why we kind of push this through is because the pools are open now. Aquatic staff likes to use the pool sometimes on their break. They can cool off, like lifeguards and so forth. And we'd like to open up that benefit now that those pools are open. So unless you have any further questions, that's the end of my presentation on this.
Okay, thank you. Director Sloan.
I'm curious how it goes further for the directors. Not that I would go swimming in the pool. I don't think I would go there, but I might go play around a golf or two. It would get me out of the doghouse of needing some exercise. So. But, thank you for doing all this work. It's I love stuff like this because it's when you work for a company. It's nice to have a little bit of things that you can get back from the company that builds their morale and I think up their game. Thanks.
I would have to agree with Director Sloan on that. I mean, the pickle award is great and all, but to be able to go play golf or, go for a swim is also a nice
The
thing.
bucket of balls,
No, I mean, it's, I know the management team values their employees, and they show that every day. So, I mean, it's a little perk, and it's, something not every district's doing, so it'll give us that opportunity to make us more of a pleasant place to work. I mean, and it's a benefit that our staff can talk to potential friends that might want to come work for the district. Hey, this is some of the other things we're getting, and that could help us grab some fabulous employees. So I have no problems with this.
Secretary Yearwood?
Yes, that's me. Not to rehash what they said, but yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's great for employees. Like I said, it's a benefit. I think it's also good for them to be out there using the facilities because they could then also help with a little word of mouth to people about how great places are because they actually use it. So that benefits things like that. And maybe if they want to golf with their friends, they bring 3 paying customers to their one free round. So that's a small benefit to us, but overall, it is always great to offer things like this to your employees to wellness, but also as like you said, for a perk. So again, I'm totally cool with this.
Okay, ditto. I'm saying anything that we can give our employees. I'm all for it. Anything. Of course, within reason. Anything we can give them. The within reason is obviously we would not be doing a good job if we went beyond reason. But yeah, anything, it's nice to know that when everything's still happening, that we can still think about them and they know they're being thought of. And I think also maybe when they use it, they might even come back with some feedback as to, hey, this isn't working. I saw some people drop all their towels in this place or that, and maybe we should do this, But I seriously feel that it just feels good. It feels like you belong, like this is your team. And a very quick, hey, come on, let's go, let's do it. I get my discount. You know what I mean? So I'm thrilled. you know, you've got me there.
Okay, and I have no questions or additional comments. I certainly agree that it's a great idea. So I'll welcome a motion.
I move the Board of Directors adopt the proposed amendments to, I still think it says, opposed amendments to the Personnel Policies Employee Handbook, Section 5.0, Benefits, subsection 5.16, Employee Wellness.
Thank you, Director Danzel.
I'll second.
Thank you, Secretary Yearwood. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we move on to item G3.
Thank you. Item G3 is to approve the proposed funding allocations per board member for conferences, seminars, workshops, and trainings for fiscal year 2022-2023. And I'll turn it over to General Manager Larkin.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. So we are in the process of activating our policies, and this is one of those policies that will help us administer the appropriate amount for trainings, seminars, workshops, conferences. So staff is recommending that the Board of Directors this evening discusses and decides on the proposed allocated amount to be budgeted for fiscal year 2022 and 2023 per board member for seminars, workshops, and conference attendance. The board policy section 3.8 states that the district shall encourage the board to develop in excellence by providing for attendance at various conferences, education courses, and training sessions. A designated budget amount will be allocated to each board member in a fiscal year. The amount may vary depending on board's involvement in other agencies and on the requirements to attend trainings and/or conferences based on these roles. The amount allocated for the board member attendance at conferences will be set at the final fiscal year budget. So tonight it would be something for you guys to discuss. The recommendation, just a little background. In the past several years, the board has attended conferences, trainings, and workshops to stay current on best practices. The conferences with the most board attendance has been the CRPD annual conference. The CSDA conference attendance was due to a CRPD receiving and accepting awards at that conference and the learning opportunities offered. The CPRS conference curriculum is more appropriately targeted to the learning of staff instead of board members. The proposed philosophy on conferences, trainings, and seminars for CRPD staff in the fiscal year 2022-2023 is that staff should budget for learning opportunities limited to maintaining certifications and licenses to maintain their job requirements, and if they are on a board planning committee related to the conference, training, or seminar in which they are budgeting funds to attend. The proposal is a $2,000 per board member for conferences allocation, and there is a chart in the staff report that indicates the amounts that we've spent in the past several years since 2018 as an entire budget. The proposed budget amount for the Board of Directors to attend conferences, training, seminars is not to exceed $2,000 per board member, and the board members can choose which learning opportunity they would like to attend within the proposed budget amount. So with that, I would like to open up a discussion from the board as to the proposed philosophy in which we're looking to have the recommendation of $2,000 per board member allocated for these purposes.
Okay, thank you. Director Sloan.
So you upped it up $1,000 for this next year, and you've got $2,000 per board member, which I guess is you figured out if we say, just hypothetically, if there was the CSDA and the CRPD, both of them required airfare to these conferences, would that accommodate all 5 of us if we all were going to those?
No.
Would not. So what if that happens?
Then you would have to choose which conference you would like to attend within your allocated budget.
So I'm gonna, okay, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Because, I mean, not that it's gonna happen. It hasn't, I don't think we've ever, I don't know a last conference that we all went on. And it looks like last year we only spent 5,000 out of 9,000. But I would, and I don't think, I know the CSDA is in Palm Springs this year, and I plan on going. So I don't know if we take that, the total of that one, and the one that I just went on, the CRPD, the cost, although I had one last night there, if that would be more than 2,000 just for me, for those two, for just that one person. And is it fair that I would be taking that and then asking someone else to say, I'm sorry, you can't go, kind of a thing? Is there's like.
This is per board member, not as a group pool of funds. But if the board wishes to approach it as a pool of funds for the entire board, you could negotiate with other board members as to your interest in attending more than just what your allocated 2,000 per board member amount is. And that's a discussion that we should have this evening.
Oh, so, okay, now I'm hearing something different.
I have a question about that, actually. Because if $2,000 is not enough for one board member to attend 2 conferences, and yet the cap is $2,000, you're effectively capping each board member at 1 conference.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
You could have a conference, Matt and I looked at each of the conferences and typically how much they cost. There is, obviously, if there is a travel component where you're taking a flight to a other conference, that has been reflected in a larger budget in 2017 with the number being 1,200, or 12,000, sorry, for a full board budget for that time. So it's not a limitation, it's a budgeting thing. We don't want to approach the budget with just, say, for example, Director Sloan would like to go to 3 conferences and Director Yearwood would go to none. And so I'm just saying that there are opportunities for you guys to discuss how would you like to approach this. And the amount is suggested. It's not saying that staff is directing you to accept the 2,000 amount, but just based on the staff philosophy for this year in terms of what we're asking the staff to do in terms of training and what we consider to be a generous allocation for each board member, this is what the staff is proposing.
What's the budget for the staff to go for training per person?
There isn't. It depends on the requests for staff to attend certain trainings. And so this coming year, it will be, as I mentioned, restricted to those that are needing to get relicensed or certified or keep their certifications in order to maintain their role, whether it be a playground inspector that needs to maintain their course certifications, lifeguards, of course, things that are requiring those kind of recertifications or certifications to keep their licenses or employment status. So this year is a little different. I mean, in the past, we've had a little bit more, I guess, robust approach to having the opportunities for trainings. This year, we're proposing for the full budget a little bit tighter belt in that we are looking to onboard some additional staff. And so we needed to fit the puzzle pieces together in order to get those new staff members on board. And something had to, in essence, be reduced or controlled a little bit more than we have been.
I could see this if this was a lump sum that the board could use for training, but, I mean, I hear all these stories, how Matt's saying, how well we're doing. We got all this money and surplus and everything, and here you want to cut down the board of directors' ability to go out.
That is absolutely not what I'm asking.
Sounds like it.
I'm asking for you to have a discussion this evening about what your thoughts are about the allocated budget per board members. I'm not asking you to cut. I'm asking you from the perspective of staff as to what our recommendations are on the full budget. This is not a request for the board to be cutting their training. It's a way for us to budget appropriately and be prepared for what that amount will be going into the next fiscal year.
Well, I'm going to defer to someone else, and I'll get back to the table. I want to hear what other people have to say.
Would you like to speak, Director Danzel,
Yeah,
at
I'm
this
trying
time?
to trying to think how I want to start this off. I'm looking at these numbers and I see most years that, well, every year we've been under. We all have been aboard pretty much here. My looking at this, and I'm gonna just go worst case scenario, because that's who I am some days. Is that $10,000 going to be enough if you have 3 brand-new board members next year? I'm asking. If worst-case scenario happens, Chair Lineback, Vice Chair Reyes, and myself no longer are here, and you have 3 brand-new board members that have to go through training, in worst-case scenario, I don't know what those dollar amounts are. I mean, I see what my conference hotel is, and I see what my conference fee is. I know what my budget is every year, but for the most part, I've been trained. And I know some things have gone online, but I know we still pay for those. So I'm looking at the worst case scenario. Is that gonna be enough? I don't know who can answer that, whether it's Matt, whether it's, general manager.
Yeah, some of the required trainings include the ethics training and the anti-sexual harassment training. We do have an ability to provide those trainings to the board in compliance with the regulatory companies that offer that for free.
Okay.
And so that isn't necessarily an expense that we would incur or send someone to exclusively a conference because of that purpose.
Okay.
So it's really just for your betterment to, network. It's to learn new best practices and board and governance and all of that good stuff. So it's a little bit of a subjective response versus what the requirements are, those 2 main requirements, which could be provided to the board for free at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the board has all gone to the Leadership Academy, for
Right, yeah,
instance,
that's what I'm
which
talking.
new members would not have.
Yeah, but Brian's talking about new people going to that.
Yeah, not
That's
just ethics.
That's not
and-
free. That's getting credentials over for administrative, financial, and what's the other one, Administrative governance. And those are very valuable tools. When I got here, I knew nothing. And Inez approached me and says, you need to do this Leadership Academy and get credentials and certificated. And so these are training that is very valuable. And I don't think we should be talking about, oh, well, you've reached your quota, you can't do anything else now. Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta sit back, but I'm getting the award. Oh, well, okay, well, we'll have someone stand in for you. This is petty stuff that I think. The district's doing very well. And granted, we're probably not gonna fly 2 places, and probably not gonna exceed 2,000 per person if we all wanted to go to 2 conferences. But, and I think back in 2017 and 18, the reason why we spent so much is because we were allowed to go to the CPRS conference. And I went to one in, I think it was in San Diego or something.
And then it comes back to
Yeah.
Sacramento.
San Diego. So that was that was 3 conferences that I could have gone to. But I don't know if I went to all 3 conferences that one year. But now we can't go to that one because it's not for us. Although I've learned more in that one than a lot of the other ones that I sit in, tell you the truth, because I see what's out there in the world of Parks and Rec, rather than just, how to be a good board of directors or how to be a good legislative, advocate. So my thoughts are pretty strong on this whole allowance idea. So, Yearwood, what do you say?
I do have to remind you, this is board policy that we're referring to in terms of implementing this, so it's not necessarily the pleasure of the staff to be bringing to this. This is a part of implementing the board policy, like I had mentioned, which is section 3.8 of the board policies.
If I could just conclude, I know that there's one conference, because I know it's an expensive conference and it's never close enough, that I've tried to for many, many years. And I know that, I've always tried to be financially sound. That's my job here. is NRPA, and I've, asked in the past, Patrick, I have not talked to you about it just because, in the last 7 years, every year I put in a scholarship. I try every year to get that scholarship. I think we talked about it when we were in the middle of the desert a couple years ago, Palm Springs or whatever, at that conference down there, because that NRPA was gonna be there 2 weeks later or whatever, and I was like, I'm not going back to the desert 2 weeks later because that's just too much. But, that's a conference I've wanted to go to. Like I said, for the last 7 years, I've tried to get a scholarship. I'm hoping that it's like my hunting license. The more times I apply, I get points, and maybe eventually I get, a ticket to go. But, so that's the only thing that concerns me. Obviously, sitting on the CARPD Board of Directors, I need to be at that conference. But, NRPA is another one that I'd like to go to. I've talked to some people that have gone to it. They feel it'd be valuable. I feel it'd be valuable. That's the only reason I look at that full. Other than that, I mean, I understand, looking at these numbers, it's, we've never gone over what we've budgeted ourselves. So I hope we can continue that, but I know that I might not be the only one who wants to go to NRPA, but, we'll have to look at that and figure that out. So that's my only comments on that.
Secretary Yearwood, would you like to ask any questions or comment?
Oh, yeah, I have a few. So this, because are you on the CRPD board? I can't remember which ones you are.
Both of us now.
So when you attend those conferences, do they not cover your costs to go to those? No.
No.
Hey, that's interesting.
That's really funny. Why would they not cover your cost if you're required to be at those conferences?
They don't, they're not, their money, and I was gonna talk about this in my report later. Their money is driven off of membership, which that pays for office and it pays for legislative stuff. It does not pay for, it pays my mileage when I what is it, next,
They're nonprofit too.
yeah, next month,
Perhaps
next month,
going
August.
forward, we shouldn't allow more than one board member to be on CRPD.
That's not our policy.
Oh, I'm saying maybe that's something we should consider.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't run.
I don't want to run. I'm not on the CRPD board.
So,
So,
but yeah, that's where that money goes.
That's all over the hill.
Can we just bring this back to the discussion about the board, not how many people should be on CARPD?
I agree.
well, if we're paying costs for things like that because these people sit on these boards, that's something we should consider when we're doing these kinds of things. What's the cost to the district? for
Regardless if
somebody
we
to
sit on the
that
board, it's a conference we go to, Michael.
Yeah, it is common practice that these associations do not pay for their own members' attendance. It's not just CARPD, it's CSDA. They're all like that. They don't pay for attendance. And then they, at least at CSDA, because it's a complaint of somebody I know on another Park District board, they mandate attendance at the conference and they don't pay. So that's just
Well, but that's
standard
something as a district
practice.
we need to consider when we're saying we want somebody to sit on these boards.
No, but Michael, it doesn't matter if you're on the board or not.
Okay.
It's my
still
turn to
attend.
speak, okay, Rick?
It is. And I think that the time to have that discussion is at the time where we're considering whether or not to nominate a board member to a given board.
Well, I mean, that would be a determining factor for me, whether I think we should send somebody to, put somebody's
Okay,
name into it. That's all I'm saying.
fair enough.
So, all right, so my question is, $2,000 seems reasonable to me. I would say, we have inflation hitting us, we are tightening our belts all over the place. Are we not gonna consider raising all of our fees next year by what, an average of 10% that we'll be charging our residents to utilize our services and that? So, I don't think it's unreasonable as a board for us to say, well, I don't need to go to that conference just because I want to go to it. Or maybe there is some value to it, but in the end, we're going to be charging people potentially, if we approve it, more money to use our facilities, to participate in our programs. Then, as a board, we need to lead by the example and tighten the belt. It's a small amount of money in the scheme of everything we do, but do we need to go to all the conferences we go to? And if you have $2,000 and you get to that max, then tough decisions have to be made. We do that in our lives every year, every day. Our budgets in our life, everything. Can I do this? Can I not do that? So I would say I'm fine with this. So Again, we need to, again, if we're gonna raise our fees for our services next year, potentially, then as a board, we need to take one for the team.
So what I wanted, there were certain options that we could have here. And I think, being on the Finance and Budget Committee, and you'll be surprised with everything going up. Yes, we may be able to put some reserves away. Yes, we may be, but we're talking about cash flow. We're talking about monies that have to be spent, that have to be available. And I think that's one of the challenges what we should be considering. But my question here is, it's like this: because I, like Michael, seem to be okay with the 2,000, but maybe we can do it in such a way where it could be a total amount, so that if, so that if a certain year I cannot spend it, it's there in the budget, and if it can be used by someone else. The important part there is for us to be respectful of it, and to know that maybe if we needed it or needed more money to put in for a conference, that we could check with someone else. Just the same way Michael just texted, hey, any of you going to the Mermaids? And I'm like, no, take my ticket. Stuff like that. So I'm thinking that in that respect. Now, does it mean that it's in stone? Because I don't believe that's the case. I believe the same way. We can always bring it back and say, hey, you know what? Now these are the cost factors. And maybe we now need to move it up to 12 grand or whatever. But I think at this point, that's 10,000 in the budget that I think should be enough, and it's just how we're going to be able to use it. I think the chair maybe, or us board members are probably the ones. I don't think staff's going to ever say you can't go, but staff will be able to say, hey, you know what, here's your running thing. Maybe you want to talk to another board member and see if they'd be, so long as it fits into this $10,000 budget, I think we're being responsible stewards ourselves. And yes, knock, 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 if we all are on the same seats that we are, then great for our constituents, great for our CRPD. I always said the biggest a good thing that's happened with CRPD is that we've been able to stay as a board. We've been able to understand the flow. We've been able to take as much training as we can, and in making decisions and moving things along, we've got expertise in this board right now, and that's the only reason why I feel a commitment to continue service, is because I've been invested in. The CRPD has invested in me, and so I hope that I can keep giving back. I have no problems with the 2,000. I think we should just make it where it's not stuck to one. I mean, each of us have an appropriation, and if 10 months down, there's another conference coming up or two, and there's still 4,000, then let's see. Let's use it. That's how I feel. Thank you.
My feelings about this are complicated. First of all, I do not agree with a per board member allocation. I believe it should be an allocation for the board. And I believe that 10,000, given the history of attendance, and I do think we should discount the COVID years, but even beyond that, has rarely exceeded the 10,000 anyway. So I don't think that the 10,000 is asking for anything really much different at all. I would, however, like, just from a budgeting perspective, to comment that if your phone bill goes over, you still pay the next phone bill. And I absolutely would not like a board member to be told that they cannot go to a conference because the budget line item has been exceeded. Because we exceed budget line items when necessary, individual line items. You know, so to, it seems a little bit, I'm a little bit ambivalent about making it a board policy, because then that is hard and fast and you cannot violate a policy. So I'm perfectly content with a $10,000 budget line item, which is unlikely to become a problem anyway. And not make it so rigid in terms of 2,000 per member or a board policy not to exceed in a way that isn't done for other budget line items. That's how I feel about it.
So can I ask for a motion with what I'm hearing is more of a pool approach and instead of a per board member allocation? It's that kind of what I've heard for several board members have mentioned, the preference of having some flexibility in that. And correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, you can continue to discuss, but I'm just trying to wrap up the conversation of what I've heard.
Does someone want to give a shot at a motion here? And we'll see if it flies?
Well, I'll give it a try.
Okay.
If we were to say, you see here it says approve proposed funding allocations per board member for conferences. So how about we say approve,
Here, this is the requested motion.
The motion.
See how you might want to amend that.
okay, I move that the board of directors approve the board member, not per board member, I move that they approve a $10,000 yearly budget for board members to attend a conference, training, seminar, or workshop to encourage board members to continue to learn best practices and skills that will benefit the Cordova Recreation and Park District. So I think that, allocation for fiscal year 2022, 2023. But take away the per board member and simply give it the approval of a 10,000 budget for board member training, seminars, conference, and skills and practices. And great, wonderful. And I think that would really satisfy our intentions, needs, and I think that should work. Did you
Okay,
get
so
it?
Clerk Jones, are you, okay. And so we have a motion by Vice Chair Reyes and a second by Director Sloan. Roll call vote, please.
Director Sloan? Director Dancel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Discussion is over, folks. Okay, we're now on to item H, Board of Directors items, board officers, appointments, elections. Yes,
Thank you. Item H1A is to adopt Resolution 21/22-41, calling for the November 8th, 2022 general CRPD election, consolidation with the statewide election, candidate statement length and costs, notice of election, and publication of notice of election. I'm happy to be bringing this item to you. This is what we are used to seeing, even though we just completed our transition to by-district elections. This process remains the same. So we also want to note, as we use the word district interchangeably, that's why I put in the title that this is for the CRPD general election. The district is required to conduct an election for the purpose of electing 3 members to the board of directors this cycle. And as we determined in our resolution for the transition to by-district elections, that will be districts 1, 2, and 5. As you know, there are several items within this resolution that we need to discuss and come to agreement on to send to the county in order to consolidate the election. We always ask to consolidate with the statewide election, of course, to save costs rather than putting on our own election. The candidate statement number of word limitation, we recommend 200 words. For the candidate statement costs, I did send an email to the board with that information for the voluntary candidate statements. And for districts 1, 2, and 5, that cost is $550 per candidate for the voluntary statement. We need to discuss the notice of election and election notice, whether we want to do a combined election notice with other special districts, which is what we're recommending. Regarding the certification of maps and boundaries, you might recall that in the 2020 election, we did have a minor boundary adjustment due to the Aspen 1 annexation, but our boundaries as the whole district have not changed since 2020. Regarding transition to by-district elections, that district map of the electoral districts has been forwarded to the county, so they are aware of the electoral district boundaries themselves. The costs for the election have been included in the upcoming fiscal year 2022-2023 preliminary budget. And I also wanted to note, in case there are any questions about the nomination period for candidates, it's July 18th through August 12th. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments before we proceed? Okay, does anyone want to make a motion?
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 21/22-41, calling for the November 8th, 2022 general district election, consolidation with the statewide election, candidate statement length and cost, notice of election, and publication for the notice of election.
Thank you, Director Danzel.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan? Aye. Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we are on item H2, board member reports and comments.
Thank you. This section is a little bit changed since our last meeting, and so I just wanted to turn it over to Chair Lineback to help facilitate these reports.
Okay, so we have 3 sections here now, the trainings, then the community activities and meetings report, and then the comments on non-agenda items as we discussed at our board retreat last week or 2 ago. When I first read this, I had some concerns about how we worked in the comments on non-agenda items, because it's not, obviously there's no list of comments on non-agenda items because it's yours to make here at the meeting. So I am proposing that when you go through your community activities and meetings report, that your last item, as it were, would be any comments you have on any non-agenda items at that time. Does that make sense? Okay. I know it, probably didn't confuse you guys, but it confused me at the time. So, okay, shall we start with the training report? Is the CRPD board member roundtable, which was the Zoom meeting held on April 25th, 2022. Director Sloan?
I did attend that meeting. I was a little disappointed. Am I on? I was a little disappointed because there was probably only 18 people who attended it. And I don't think it was as well advertised. It was sort of like the last thing. And like, that was like a month ago. And here we are at the CRPD conference and having the same roundtable. So to me, it was like, oh, we haven't done this all year. We better do it now. So I was a little disappointed, and that's not gonna happen next year, because I'm back. And, but there's a lot of directors out there that have been newly elected and still lost with a lot of informational stuff. And they're getting buried by legislative stuff. And it can be very overwhelming. And to be able to sit in a round table, not really a round table, but with directors of your peers in other agencies up and down the state of California, it's a big plus. You can learn a lot, ask questions, and then that's how you learn how to be a better director. So that's why I think we need more of them. I know that the general managers roundtable, they have more than that. They have three or four of them during the year. Zoom opened up a new avenue, and I think and it should be more of an avenue that we use for directors too. So I was very happy they did it, but I wanted to see more attendance.
Okay, Vice Chair Reyes?
I have to make a comment here that I was not able to attend it because I was having some challenges getting on to the meeting. But even that, it's like initially it's like, what's this? Board member roundtable, just out of the blues.
Right.
You know, just out of the blues. And then you have the same thing at the conference, which I tried to attend, but like anything else, if you've got 2 or 3 strong voices, you never get to yours. And to tell you frankly, the newer ones never get to really ask or share. So that maybe CARPD can do a better job of trying to maybe say, hey, we'll have a roundtable for newer ones, older ones, whatever.
They used to have orientation.
But I didn't get to attend it in that respect.
I'm sorry, that's one of the problems with Zoom. You can't really see who's there. But yeah, I attended it. Even though you weren't there, Vice Chair Reyes, you made a very, astute comment about the fact that there tends to be 2 or 3 voices that dominate these roundtables. And this one was really not very different from that, even though Matt Duarte stayed in that one, and he did manage to draw it back a few times, which was a shame he didn't do that during the conference, because we could have used that. Because he introduced that and then just off to the races. But they did talk about the importance of developing community partnerships. Let's see, one idea which I thought was great for recreation is to have classes to teach people to be referees and things of that sort, to help participate in soccer or, how to become a softball referee, how to become a soccer referee. That seems like kind of a natural thing for recreation to do. I haven't seen it being done. I mean, I'm not trying to say that other people are doing it and we're not, but it seemed like a great idea. And there was a comment, many districts are doing hybrid meetings so that while their boards may be meeting in person, they have the option for the public to attend by Zoom, which increases the amount of public participation in the meetings, which I thought was very good. And then, the annual talk about ERAF came up also. Never. Okay. And, annual board retreat was attended by all. Director Sloan.
It was fun. I got you got a history lesson of the agency. This is always nice to remember where we've been, like a before and after shot. What's never going to be ever completed. It's like Disneyland. Walt Disney made the statement, Disneyland will never be completed as long as there is imagination. So we sat on this board and we had this this history lesson, and then we had an interesting sort of like a what do you call it? It was a
Group activity?
group activity. That's what it was, and we had to break up as a group, as a directors, as if we were the park planning committee and the people building the parks and configuring, and we had so much. And we had to advocate for each one of our own groups, and I was the art group. And, we had everyone had different things they had to advocate for. Everybody had to be, heard, and their play area had to be designed to make everybody happy, which is a hard project right there, just to please everybody. You're never going to, just like swings in Rosemont. You just gotta.
Which will come up again.
Which, that's the thing, is that if you do a good job of listening and you carry that on, I think we really worked well together, mainly because we were playing a role, but we created a park I thought was gonna work. So it was a nice little get together, and I appreciate the s'mores. The s'more packet I got. Although I think I ate it separately and it was a little stale.
Director Danzel.
Board retreats are always, when I got on this board, that was not something we ever did. We met each other once, well, at that time, twice a month, and talked unless we were in committees together. Getting to hear outside of a board meeting what is going on in the district, what things are going on. Director Sloan talked about this project we were putting together, this park that we helped build. What was interesting about that to me is, once again, the great work that staff's doing, because staff is actually teaching this to Leadership Branch Cordova. And so other people that are leaders in Rancho Cordova are getting an opportunity to see what our staff does on a daily basis. And I know Laura Taylor does this multiple times a year, not just, okay, once and done. Okay, I built a park, I'm done this year. I know she doesn't have that luxury. I know there's days you wish you had that luxury. But it was definitely, I think for us, we've got quite a few years on and listening to staff and listening to the community, how they want parks built. I think that's why it didn't take us that long. General Manager Larkin, you give, in leadership, you give, what, hour and a half to get that done? You gave us 15 minutes. So we did have the unfair advantage because, we've seen the great work our staff has done and continue to do. So that's the nice thing. They work really hard, and it just gives me that chance to appreciate them once again, because I know what they're doing, and it just makes it easier on us. Thank you.
Secretary Yearwood.
Yeah, it was nice to see the presentation that is shown to leadership. And so we kind of see what's kind of being presented out there to those classes, because I know a lot of them have no idea what CRPD is, what we do. We're not a city agency. I'm sure some of them think we are. So it was nice to see that presentation. I'm sure it was put together by Matt brilliantly in the PowerPoint world. And the exercise was very interesting. It was interesting we're supposed to be spokesmen or I think I was the group that wanted the pickleball palace, and it was never going to fit in this park. So I totally folded easily. I'm like, well, I know this can't work here. And so I was like, well, this isn't going to work here. This is a tiny neighborhood park. And so I'm intrigued. I didn't hear that they get an hour and a half. I didn't hear that part. So our crash 15 minutes was we created a design for an award-winning park that I expect to see somewhere in the district eventually. So I hope somebody took a picture of that boy, because it looked great. It looked great. So
We had good.
Oh, there were pickleball courts in there.
We didn't have.
We
16.
compromised. You didn't get my money, but we compromised. And I was intrigued to see that outline was an actual one of our parks, because the lines were like really wonky on it. I don't know why that was that way, but. It was a large one. Yeah, it's like just some house around part of the park apparently or something. So lovely. All right.
Vice Chair Reyes, please.
Yes, Chair Lineback. I enjoyed the retreat. I enjoyed the information they gave us. I love that visual that you had done with the words that our staff had chosen and all this. And I just love the fact that, because I like coding with colors and all that, and I like the fact that the bigger words were the ones that were so popular, but everyone's word came in. I liked going over our mission statement and how we are, and I would love to see that more often, kind of everywhere we are, so that we just keep remembering this is what we want to be, the leader, okay? Because I think that's what we're doing right now. Anyway, and I did enjoy the activity. It was really neat because I guess my population was the one more on the disabled and handicapped and the kids, and so it became where everyone was like, come on, let's help you, put you here. This was a very good, for me, the highlight was being able to sit around the table with my board members. And General Manager Larkin. And we could talk about what we wanted to talk about and just feel a little more relaxed, because we don't quite get to do that much or at all. The one that really I am grateful for is Secretary Yearwood. Secretary Yearwood, who Christmas time or holiday says, hey, let's get together. And I really think that's one of the other things. It strengthens our bond. It reminds us that we have life to live, and yet we're here. And also, I think to me, it brought out the similarity now of words and values and meanings. Remember when we started as a board, it's like this word meant something to you and this word means something to me. But it's like all of a sudden, we're in sync. And I hope we can stay in sync for a while, because it'll be easier for our staff to continue moving forward. So I did enjoy that. I appreciate that 2 hours of just, being together, organized, getting something done. So there was work involved, but then again, there was a sharing of a meal. Thank you.
Yeah, I have nothing, but positive thoughts and feelings about that retreat. I appreciated the view of how the staff presents the district, to the leadership, but I'm, it comes out in other ways when you're, out there in the public, and and we get to see how you talk about us, as it were. It's not that we don't know those things, but it's nice to know how it gets communicated to the public. And as far as the little exercise of building a park was concerned, is all I know is I got my 3 dog parks. That's all I cared about. and then it was a good discussion about the board comment part of our agenda. So, yes, you have a question.
I want to add to that group project a budget. There was no budget. Had there been a budget and our line items had a price tag on it, it would have been a whole different scenario.
I think the original project, though, the hour-long project, has other components to it, including values. So to make it 15 minutes.
But if we budgeted,
There were-
500,000 for the pickleball courts. but
There
we only
there
did
were
half.
some budget numbers provided, but not per individual amenity. at least,
I don't
yeah.
know what the total budget is.
It was, yeah, wealthy donor was going to give 3 million. And I think there was going to be a total of 8 million, 5 million from the park and 3 million from a wealthy donor, which money we weren't going to get because we cut all his pickleball courts out.
Half, only half.
Decision.
But it was a very broad budget, yeah. Not individual amenities, which you're right, because then you really start to learn what the value people place on individual items being present in a park, yeah. But, okay, I think we shall move on now to the CARPD Annual Conference. And Director Sloan, you are on.
Okay, like always, I think it's a wonderful conference. It was very well attended this year. I think there was over 135 or about 100, how many, 35 different agencies throughout California attended, representatives from those attended. And that's always nice because then you get a wider scope. I couldn't stay the whole conference because my daughter graduated from Sac State. And I was very wonderful experience for me to be back at down here at a graduation. But we had the round tables, and once again, it was controlled by one or two people, legislative things, and until someone spoke up. A newer board member and said, is it possible we could discuss something that we could actually take home with us? Because when you're dealing with legislative things, you really can't take that home. That's out there at, in City Hall and the White House and all, and fighting in the trenches. Here, they want to know, tell me something, a project that was successful that you had. Tell me a partnership that was successful that you had. Tell me some type of, how did your agency get a measure passed? Things like that they want to bring back to their agencies, not as much as the other stuff. So it was I'm very excited about the awards. We won another award that I think it was a trifecta, or the what is it, the Preakness and all these different races that you can win, and you get our pool. General Manager Larkin said, I think we've won just about every award out there. I mean, it's I don't know, really, and it deserves it. And so with that, I'm gonna let the other directors talk to who attended, but I really liked it. I always like it, and I always, I'd like to see Michael Yearwood attend sometime.
Conference. So for me, being also on the CARPD board, did go up Wednesday. I had to be there. I know Jill had to be there for pretty god-awful early on Wednesday morning. I didn't have to be there till 2 o'clock, thank goodness. We sat down, and this is General Manager Larkin, Matt Cadell, Finance. So in the past, we have paid $2,500 a year to CRPD under their current bylaws, membership, whatever. So that was brought to us, and this actually falls under two places for me because the meeting continued from my community activities and meetings to the final meeting up in Tahoe. So we looked at the way things are. Legislative stuff is going through the roof. More and more legislative is coming. CARPD is growing, but not in leaps and bounds like they'd like. We are starting to get more and more districts. I think, quick math, 73 districts total. Does include some CSDs now, which is nice, not just park districts. But we looked at financially, how are we going to combat that and move things along. In the current, we have six line items for membership. Smallest line item being an annual budget for that district between $0 and $999,999,000, so just under $100,000. and what they pay. And we had 6 line items before. Now and the highest one being $1 million plus on budget. Out of that, we have 42 agencies that are on that track. We had to sit down and look at the other like organizations, in a sense, CSDA, CPRS, and look at their memberships and what they cost, and figure out. One of the organizations looked at actually had 17 different line items for what you're going to pay for membership. And when they got to $1 million, it was $1 million to $1.5 million is this. And we didn't think that we needed to go that far. So we did, on Wednesday, did go to seven line items. So before, $1 million would have been number 6, the top line item for us. We would have been at $1 million. So any district with $1 million budget or higher would pay X dollars. And we turned around and we changed that. Now $1 million to $2 million is X dollars. $2 million to $5 million is another set of dollars, and $5 million plus is so that proposed for the $5 million plus annual budget goes from $2,500 to $3,500 a year. So it did go up, and the added revenue. The crazy thing is the added revenue by adding those extra line items only brings it up by $53,000 for the year. And with legislative costs going up and wanting, obviously, for us as a legislative body and having to work on that and figure out what's going on, what bills are going to help us, what bills are going to hurt us, hiring another staff person on that side is what that money will be used for. It's not going to pad CRPD's pockets, things like that. It is actually, that was what it was set aside for, is that. At the conference, a couple of the things I did, couple of the meetings I did attend, the keynote speaker, Action Park. If anybody gets a chance to watch that movie about Lossy Park, or really known as Action Park, watch it. It was the fun, but not the legal fun. And I mean, some of us sat around and goes, yeah, I remember hearing about that as a kid, and looking at some of the things that were built and why they were built and how they got away with things and why people went to jail and unfortunately passed away at Action Park, was real eye-opening to where we sit now in 2022 with insurance versus where we sat in the 1980s with insurance. Another one that I attended with, I think all of us that were there, was the, including staff, was the Aging Rec Centers. And I know our general manager and Jill, they took every note they could, I think, and got all the presentations, because we have some of those Aging Rec Centers and how to refund those and revitalize those. And I think that was a great meeting for all of us to sit through. Another one I sat through, I don't like the legislative stuff. I don't like I'll tolerate it, but I'll tolerate it at my speed. I don't need somebody driving it down my throat. I went into the East Bay Park District, and that is a city within itself. That Park District is, anybody who knows anything about that area, they have four people who just work on paperwork on the legal side on how, what they can legally get through and what they can't. And I'm going, where do you guys get all your money? And then I remember it's the Bay Area and they have that money. And then we talked, it was talked about earlier, board roundtables. There was a couple of them. The second one I attended. The first one I walked into and it got a little legislative, and I had to walk out because sitting on the CRPD board, I'd already heard what was being brought up. I knew exactly where we were going. Second day for us on the board roundtable was talking about elections and how do elections run, and we got to hear different districts. We got to hear different dollar amounts. We heard tonight ours is going to be $550 to run for office, putting in that statement. Other districts, it's higher. Ours has been higher in the past. But how do different people campaign? How do people do this? And what was very interesting is we had normally we don't have a lot of new people. We have 2 or 3. This time in that meeting, there was a lot of new people, and I found out, Terry, what district was it? North Highlands? North Highlands, their longest reigning board member is 2 years. The other 4 have been there less than 2 years. So the senior person on the board has been there 2 years. They're really lost. And unfortunately, their general manager's trying to help, but at the same time, Patrick would have a hard time trying to get 5 of us through. I mean, you could do it. You've been with us long enough. Ms. Jones could definitely help. But in a smaller district, it's hard when you've got that many brand new people having to teach everything too. So I brought up to our new president of CRPD that maybe board members of CRPD turn around and help mentor these new board members as they come on. She seemed to think that was a good idea. I also talked to the executive director. He also believed it would be a good idea because it's not something we do. We talked to him at conference. Okay, great. We don't see him and talk to him afterwards. So it's one of those things. And then the last thing for me on the conference is I would like to congratulate Director Sloan on being reelected to the board.
So yes, Vice Chair Reyes, I believe. I don't believe. Yeah.
Okay, yes, oh, that's right. It was nice to see a lot more people and you know, to see that it wasn't a Zoom meeting or a virtual. So that was nice. I have some comments that I would love to do to improve probably at least the rooms were hot. Dang, I had to pull out my fan so many times. I couldn't believe it. I thought I even brought a jacket. I thought I'd need a jacket. They were hot. I don't know if people are getting, I know, older and feeling too cooler, but they were hot. So thank God Jill many times had to run around and try and say, could you cool down the rooms? It's very hard to concentrate. It's very hard to listen, especially when you're sitting there at the round table for board members, and all they're talking about is legislative things. It's just like, this is not at all interesting. And you're putting me in a heat place. I was getting a headache. Maybe that's what got me sick. Anyway, it was interesting. The other thing I noticed, you know, I was sitting there, we were enjoying and all this, and I noticed that when it came, I want to congratulate Director Sloan for winning a seat on their board. But I noticed that we need more women leaders in these organizations, you know. CRPD, I mean, if not for the president-elect, if she wasn't the president-elect, it's all men. All men. And I thought that, man, this didn't look as good as representative of the community and the group. So I thought, there's need for females in leadership roles for these parks. So Jill, I'm thrilled you're on the Capri board. Thank you for being there for us. And then other than the guys that enjoyed it, I did not enjoy the keynote speaker. I'm so sorry. This action park was like, I mean, it's a crazy movie, but the guy who was giving this keynote speak, I didn't learn anything from it. I didn't even get, I was learning everything that was wrong. It was like you brought me back to the 1960s where they put tubes together and people slide down them, and next thing you know, others come out with scratches because there were teeth of people that, you know, I know it was like, but I thought to myself, it would have been nicer to get a keynote speaker that was a lot more, you know, he's talking about the newness, about forward thinking, about where we're going to go with this, because this is an association of, you know, rec and park districts, and you know, I thought to myself, it definitely was not impressive. Of course, I do know that we have someone in our family that experienced firsthand the action part, which was in New Jersey, in New Jersey. Thank God he didn't come out with broken bones, no teeth or whatever. So anyway, that was, well, because people, yeah, that was years ago. Anyway, but, so I did enjoy it. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay through to complete it because I got ill. I was taken ill. So, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, and actually, with regard to the keynote speech, while it was amusing, it was not informative, and it was a commercial for the guy's movie. So, anyway, as far as that goes. I was also confused why they had board and general manager roundtable and board and general manager breakout session. Did we really have to do that twice? Because there was the breakout session on day one, and then there was the roundtable on day two. Confusing to me. Well, that being said, those are my criticisms. I did attend some good sessions, actually. The Aging Rec Centers was fascinating, how you make choices about what to do with your facilities. I think, your comments about forward-looking are really pertinent here. Yes, you can repair them, but are they really going to meet your needs in the future? So I thought it was a great perspective. They didn't talk about the money, and of course, money is always key when it comes, but do you really waste your precious dollars to fix something that isn't really going to serve you well? So I really enjoyed that session a great deal. I also enjoyed the developing and pursuing a legislative goals at your agency, even though it was, geared to what East Bay was doing. He said a few things that I thought I could take away from it. One, develop relationships with your various legislators at all levels, not just when you have an ask, but just, have them be known to you, let them use your facilities for community meet and greets, offer them park tours, so that the day you come to them with an ask, they know who you are and they have a favorable impression of you. And so I thought that was something really, really valuable. He was talking about the different kinds of things that they found get a positive response from legislature. Are you asking for, well, some of it, sea level rise obviously is not an issue in Sacramento, but community health is something that legislators tend to respond positively to. Ecosystem stewardship, whether it's, climate change, or they also offer conservation corps jobs at their district so that they get the work of the Conservation Corps. And I believe that those jobs are paid for by the Conservation Corps, right? So you invite them into your district to do conservation work, which I thought was great. Climate-friendly transportation, again, maybe not so much. One thing he said was when you are meeting with a legislator, have an expert in the room. So invite the person in your district who is not necessarily the most senior, not that you shouldn't be there, but that also has the kind of detailed knowledge that can answer very specific questions, such as our park planner or our finance director or our director of Parks and Recreation, so that if a legislator has a specific query, they can get a solid answer, and then you come across as the professionals you really are. So I thought it was actually a really helpful session, to be truthful. Claims conversations, it was four tales of Recreation and Park District litigation, for me, having sat on the Capri board for several years, I didn't hear anything new in that session, but, it was kind of, helpful information. Make sure you get your waivers signed and you have your MOUs where what's that word, where you hold harmless, the party that's offering you the use of their facilities and things of that sort. So, it's good information for people who didn't sit on the Capri board for a long, long time. And then the board member breakout sessions, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, not so much. That's my report. Go for it. Ken Cooley did speak. He got an award for Northern California Legislator of the Year from CRPD. And he spoke. First, they showed he was instrumental in getting a large grant for Fulton El Camino to build a community center in one of their parks to help service. There's apparently a large population of new Afghan refugees over there, and so that's why he was given the award. And gosh, I don't know. I really enjoyed listening to him, but I can't exactly remember the content of his speech anymore. But yeah, CRPD did give him that award, and he did come and accept it in person, which was nice.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so now, this is getting to be a long part of the meeting, isn't it? And it's not going to get any shorter, because we have quite a list of activities that our board members have participated in the last month. So would you like to start, Director Sloan? And remember, this is the part when you're done with your activities report, you may also at that time have any comments on non-agenda items that you would like to share.
Okay. Well, we got a long list, so I'm gonna try to get through them fast. April 23rd, Hagen Park. The site was Kids Day. And I'm telling you, it was a Kids Day finally. It wasn't a drive-by Kids Day. It was Kids Day in the park. And I think most of my colleagues were there who can make it, and some weren't. But I'm telling you, it was nice getting back on the green grass and being able to see the kids and photograph all the different venues. And I want to kudos again to the park district. The park looked like the gem it always has been and will be in the forever. So it was really great being out there. And the district was well represented by a booth, and as was the rest of the world. It seemed like they had lots of booths. The next thing, we had a special board meeting April 27th that we all attended. And my take on that was basically we were just finishing up on the final touches of the district-wide elections, right? And so it went pretty smooth. April 28th, I went to the Arbor Day tree planting at Prospect Hill Park. And it's nice being in a park in Gold River. I don't remember the last time I was actually at an event in a park in Gold River. So, and it's a beautiful park. It's got a play structure that is like probably the tallest play structure I've ever seen. And by the time you get down, you probably singed your butt because of the friction that is developed. And it was fun. We had it was photographed by Shelby. We had got some shovel work in there, and it was a good little, nice little presentation about and celebrating Arbor Day, which I thought, thank you again, Park District, for your wonderful service. And okay, next thing was I went to the community yard sale over there at Lincoln Village Community Park on May 7th. And it was nice having that for the first time in maybe 2 years. So it was a little scarce. There was lots of little areas that were not with booths in it. I talked to a lot of the people there. It says it was a little light in the traffic mainly earlier or later on in the day, it just fizzled out. So they were thinking maybe it should be started earlier and then end earlier or whatever. But it was still nice to have, all these people out here that a lot of them I've seen before, and a lot that were there for the first time. And regardless whether they sold stuff, they were all happy to be out of their garage, and showing their wares again and talking to people. And I bought 3 beautiful abalone shells for $5. That's a steal. May 14th, what can I say? May 14th, we had a big Meet the Machines in Hagan Park. Once again, it was a great day to be back in the park with the kids doing what they do best, and that's climb on different vehicles, talk to people about how things work, and chase balls that Jill Nunes was throwing into the atmosphere with this heavy blower that we've got. These balls would shoot up 100 feet up in the air, and kids would be bumping heads catching them. Kind of like a free-for-all. It was really nice. I really appreciated that day because it didn't stop there. Because about 3 or 4 hours later, I'm at the iFest over at the Village Green Park. And what can I say? iFest is a fantastic an event. I think it started by the first leadership class, second leadership class. And it was, I guess, I think that was what Mark Baxter was in, I believe, was in that one. But I know you probably have all been to the iFest, and I don't have to explain what goes on there, but they actually had camel rides, which I thought was very interesting. And I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to go camel riding. Yeah, who thought of that? Who thought of that? I mean, I've seen them before on display, but not being able to get there and ride them. But it was great. I photographed it and loved doing that. And now, the final event on I'm trying to sound like Matt giving his presentations. On my bucket list was always to photograph a mermaid convention. I must have had a dream or something, or earlier life, I fell in the water and I was rescued by a mermaid. What movie was that? Splash. Well, here I am photographing mermaids and mermen and creatures from the Black Lagoon, and it was just very interesting to be somewhere where you've never been before. And where they were it couldn't have been a better place. And I went around and talked to people. I don't want to know what their background on being a mermaid is. I want to know, of all the facilities you've been to, any type of convention or any type of mermaid activity, how does this facility fare up? And they said, this is by far the best facility we've ever been in. That grassy area that we have, they don't normally have that. It's usually pavement everywhere, hot pavement. So we have trees in a park-like setting where they set everybody put their blankets out and relax during part of the day, because it was a long day, 10 to 5 one day, And so it was, and it was just very. I also asked about how there was some issues about not having a headquarters. They mentioned. I said, anything could be better for you? He said, well, right now that people are to get into some of these costumes, it's very tricky, and you just don't. It takes maybe 2 or 3 people to help you put on some of them. So they were doing that in the room with air conditioned. It was another triple digital day, so it was hot out there. So the main office area there, that's where they were using for that. But they said they really needed an air conditioned headquarters, where people would be going to. And I pointed out the one building on the side, but I heard that it's used for daycare, and so I don't know if that's something they could use on a Saturday, but some type of a building would have been nice for them to have that. They used the main Hagen building where we have the lunches for demonstration. There was an artist from Disney Animation Studios teaching kids how to draw mermaids, And so there was all these that little breakout session there was kind of fun. So, and I was there for maybe 3.5 hours. And it was a 3-day convention. So they had a bubble ball on Saturday night. Yeah, and that was also in that area too. And so without these facilities, these things couldn't be happening. So our park district man is got, like, how many feathers can we have in our hat? We're a full headdress, our district, and thank you very much for doing that. I look at you guys, because you guys are out there doing that for us. Thank you. That's it. Sorry.
And no additional comments?
No additional, I can't think of anything else.
Okay, thank you. You don't have to. It's just your opportunity to. Director Danzel?
27th of April, special board meeting to finalize the by-district maps, the 28th Arbor Day tree planting. May 2nd, myself, General Manager Larkin, and CFO Matt Caddell attended the Visit Rancho Cordova Summit. It was just learning what travel and tourism is kind of doing and how they're getting back into the swing of things in the community. I felt that I needed to go to this due to the fact that Parks and Rec, I wasn't sure when I signed up for it that anybody from staff was going about it or even knew about it. I don't think you did at the time, but I think I brought that up to you, and that's a fault of somebody else's. But good summit. Did learn, some things about the surrounding community and the things that travel and tourism here in Rancho Cordova are doing. May 3rd, CRPD Finance Committee, talked about that a little bit earlier. May 4th, special board member retreat, already talked about that. May 14th, Meet the Machines at Hagan Park. And then I also went out to the golf course. I've been out to the golf course quite a couple times in the last month. They had demo days for some golf clubs, and I actually had 2 last month. Yes, I ended up buying a new driver. We won't talk about that, but it's got a chance to walk around the course, got a chance to peek in the door of the restaurant, things like that. Course is looking fabulous. It's the best that I can ever remember. Staff out there really seems to care. Got to say hi to VJ and some other staff that are out there. So, yeah, it's definitely doing what I'm glad it's supposed to be doing. And the staff out there and the staff in the office upstairs are doing exactly what needs to be done to that place and keeping it on track. And the question that keeps getting asked to me is, and you know exactly what this is going to be, Jill, when's the restaurant opening? Because there's a group that is taking the golf course post, Golf Sacramento or whatever, I think is the chase who it is, and that keeps being the question that's asked. So it's not being asked directly to us, it's being asked to this other group, and I just keep going, how do I want to answer this? Because I know the contractors are working their backsides off, we're doing what we need to do, there's some paperwork that's being held up, so that isn't quite done. So other than that, course looks great, and continue to do what you got to do. No, I have no disclosure, sir.
It's not disclosures, it's comments.
Oh, comments on no, I don't have any comments tonight.
Thank you. Yes. Secretary Yearwood.
Let's see. Yeah, the special board meeting, we finalized the maps and approved it. The special board meeting, the annual board retreat, we already talked about that. We built a world-class park. Meet the Machines at Hagen. It was nice to see another event coming back. It was probably a smaller crowd, but it'll build back up. And I know they struggled with getting some agencies and places to bring equipment out that would normally have been out there. So hopefully we can get those folks out next year. And then, of course, I head out to the Mermaid Convention. I was there a little earlier in the morning. Mermaids don't get up early, apparently. There wasn't as much activity going on when I was there. the ones that were there, they were putting their fins on and weren't using air conditioning. They were right there on the deck. I was walking by people, just putting fins on. I was like, okay, hey. So there was a nice lady dressed as a mermaid was playing the harp. That was nice. And there was one out on the front rock there at the entrance to the park. So it was interesting. It's they've only been doing this for a few years, the ones that have organized it. And I believe one of them, their children go to our daycare or something. They're somehow linked to us. So, and of course, Visit Rancho Cordova kind of stole them away from the city of Sacramento this year in hopes that for everything I've heard, they really liked being at Hagen. So it sounds like they'll probably be back. But that was like a big 3-day event. There was things downtown. We were just a portion of the whole convention. Who knew? But it was a nice little event. And staff was doing a great job meeting their needs and all that. So that's all. Oh, and I don't have any comments. Not disclosures, comments.
Correct. Yes, Vice Chair Reyes.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. I have a couple of community activities that I had attended but was not able to report out to you. So Mills Softball Complex grand opening, because I wasn't here at the April meeting. It was, I'd say, a good day, a good show, good weather. And if I'm not mistaken, that whole complex is just the school district and the city's investment in it, right? Oh, that's how it felt like. Anyway, let's move on to Sacramento LAFCO Special District Advisory Committee, which was on 29th of March. I'm sure Chair Lineback might have expressed, but I was very disappointed to see that Mr. Jose Enriquez, who is their executive officer, didn't show up. It was a Zoom meeting. He did not show up. They did not know where he was. They did not know what may have happened to him. And the whole meeting was run, yeah. And he wasn't there at all. And he apparently was the one that sent out this agenda and all that. And so there were certain parts in our agenda, such as grant funds that supervisors have allocated to chambers of commerce, and property and business improvement districts in Sacramento County. That seemed to have been put on the agenda, but Charlie and Gay, Charlie's the president, I believe, and Gay Jones kind of helped her along here to run this meeting. Again, there was another one that was tabled, which is that the Special Districts Association want to amend the nomination process by adopting specific terms in the nominating resolution. So anyway, those were things that had to be tabled because he may have put that in and that didn't quite go. Then the proactive, how proactive should LAFCO be in the county? That was a question asked by Gay Jones. And I guess they were talking about setting up policies, and they talked about exactly that, the MSRs, updating MSRs. They don't know who really follows up on that. It's supposed to be every, I don't know how many years. And it's supposed to really be a snapshot of the district, number of parks and all that. Any improvements, all that jazz. But that was up in the air. We did get Dane Waddle. Is that how? Dane Waddle. I think it's Dane Waddle. He was talking from CSDA, and he reports on any legislative. He said that the Chamber of Commerce and the county supervisors were to see if there are funds available to cover COVID losses on lost revenues. They're the ones apparently that are going to be giving that out. League of Cities had a calculator to determine revenue loss. Casumas CSD loss was, I don't know if I wrote it wrong or what, was 19 million in revenue. 19 million in revenue. And they received one of the largest reimbursements. On that account, I do remember I had mentioned to, I'll do it maybe the comment on the non-agenda thing. Okay, Gay Jones was setting policy, and hers was to set policy updating PSRs. And with regards to our CRPD and RC situation, Mr. Waddle, Jane, he proposed forming a regional association with CSDA and turn it into a CSDA chapter that could deal with the CARPD and RC situation to help to keep conversations going on small districts advocacy. All right? So basically, that's my report on the Sacramento LAFCO. And I believe the next meeting, because it's every fifth Tuesday, next meeting is going to be on the 31st, next week. The other thing is for the special board meeting, which was on the maps, the only thing I have to say there was that was our meeting to do our district map. And one of the biggest things was a guiding principle that we all had as a board was to try to keep communities, immediate communities together. Unfortunately, as our own constituents may discover, some of them might not be in the district they think they're supposed to be in. And that's because of the census map and all this, and we just have to be ready to tell them it's not that we choose to divide communities. And then the Arbor Day tree planting at Prospect Hill Park, that was enjoyable. That was really nice. It was a beautiful day. I liked the fact that the lady, I can't remember her name, Tammy, she did such a great job talking about the trees. What kind of trees, why they chose this tree. And I was thinking now, because my nephew lives across the street from the park, and I was at a birthday party there. And I thought to myself, I wonder if they put the sign on the tree, where the tree is, or what kind of tree it is, and why did they pick it. That was really interesting and good. Plus, these guys made me shovel the hole to stick the tree, and they're like, okay, and as you got the shovel, go ahead. And it was fun, though. Anyway, I had already given my comment on the board retreat, and the last thing I have to comment on is Meet the Machines at Hagan Park. It was so nice to see it come back. Beautiful day. Staff did a great job. And I hope that we, as Mr. Sloan included, every board of director here can assist with encouraging participation and giving staff whatever connections we have to bring in more of our machines. Example, like a fire engine. And not that staff didn't try. The thing I was saying, I'm going to talk to Gay Jones. She's with Metropolitan Fire. It's like there was no fire engine. That was always something I would go to look at, and and then there were other things there. But it was a good start, and Hagen was the best place to have it in. So hopefully we can help staff, and if we have any ins to getting any more of these machines for next year. I do remember that one of the biggest things was we happened to have some conversation as to maybe, because look, in the morning it's Meet the Machines, in the evening it's iFest. I had to go to a birthday party, so I couldn't even do iFest. Maybe we can spread it out a little bit. And I leave it up to Director of Parks and Recreation, Jill. She will do, I'm sure, the best in finding the right time to have it so that we can really embellish it in the whole day, Thank you, though. Staff did a good job. That's it. Thank you.
You had mentioned you might have an additional
Oh.
comment.
Thank you very much for reminding me. I read in the news that Ami Bera had assisted with getting some funds for Folsom and Elk Grove. And I wondered, what about us? I mean, I don't know if he needed to be approached for it, but maybe we can, I told General Manager Patrick Larkin to maybe give his office a call and see, because it was a big news that he was able to get it. I said, for Folsom and for Elk Grove, well, we're here, Ranch Cordova too. So anyway, it's in the notes.
Thank you. Okay, mine will be quite brief, actually. We all know that, we finalized the district maps at the April board meeting. I loved the Arbor Day tree planting, and I had visited Prospect Hill Park a long time ago, but I forgot about that magnificent slide, so I actually took my grandchildren there afterwards, and they had a ball. But it was informative and interesting, and I enjoyed watching Inez doing all the work. And the special board meeting we've already reported on. And actually, I did attend the new standing committee, the CIP committee on May 11th, and I enjoyed the presentation very much by district staff on the capital projects. And I thank them for doing such a good job at reconstituting that committee. And so I'm done with my comments. I have nothing additional. And at this time, I would like to have a brief break, say 10 minutes, and we'll reconvene at 9:10. Okay, thank you. It's 9 o'clock, so we reconvene at 9:10. Second session at 9:10, and we are on item I. Comments by staff on non-agenda items.
Oh, why, thank you. I will just dive right in. First, I want to thank Matt Goodell for that amazing presentation at our board retreat. It was May 4th, of course, and so the surprise of May the 4th be with you, with the Darth Vader coming in and, Luke Skywalker and all the Ewoks, that was quite entertaining. So thank you, Matt, for always, giving some levity to these very serious projects that we work on at our retreat. So I appreciate that. We also had a couple of other recognition events this past month. We celebrated our administrative professionals for Administrative Professionals Day. We were able to honor those staff. We got them a mug and we filled them with some goodies, and we hand-delivered them to those special folks that are on our staff. As well as there was a public service recognition week, and we thanked them through s'mores. So we had 150 packets, I believe, roughly, maybe 160, maybe 170. Wow. All right. So, and the theme was let me make sure I can get my glasses going here. The world means s'more, right? The world needs more people like you. So, boy, I really got to get my eyes checked. So the picture of that is in the packet, and Director Sloan earlier said that he enjoyed his as well. So thank you to the staff. They're amazing. It's a pleasure, being able to acknowledge and recognize them. We do a fantastic job. And the Pickle Committee is just right on there. So thank you for all those efforts. We really appreciate it. We had an opportunity to meet with the Rancho Cordova HOT team, the homeless outreach team. We were having some significant issues with some unhoused individuals in our park, like we have been. It's nothing really new. So it was our opportunity to reconnect with them and talk about what our current issues are. It was a great meeting just to reconnect, and they gave us some good advice for us to explore how to best maybe prevent larger gatherings of unhoused folks in our park versus getting to the point where it's becoming a significant problem with, 5, 10, 15, 20 folks that are kind of landing in our parks and staying. So great advice. We're going to follow up on that. We may have a proposal later for the board to consider as a strategy. Also, Jill and I met with the new chief of police. It was a great opportunity, and also the assistant chief of police. So we went down to his office and introduced ourselves, let him know about our district and who we serve, and offered our support in that if he wanted to offer some neighborhood watch meetings in our park, safe night out programs, So he was, when you come from outside of an agency, you don't realize that we're not maybe a department of a city or something. So it was a great opportunity for him starting for us to get there soon and educate him on what services we provide, not only in the city of Rancho Cordova, but also in unincorporated Sacramento County. And as you know, the police force here is contract through Sacramento County, through the city of Rancho Cordova. So he understood kind of our place in this community, which I appreciated that meeting. We also have tomorrow morning, actually, an opportunity for County Supervisor Rich Desmond. He has a meet and greet here at City Hall at 8 a.m., I believe from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., if anyone is interested in meeting him and introducing yourselves. Myself and some of the staff will be going down there and just, looking to introduce ourselves again and start building that relationship with him, since he'll be Sure, I could do that. He will be in a very prominent area of our district now that they have reorganized the boundaries for those Board of Supervisors. So he'll be mostly in the supervisory role of the newer area of our district and down towards Kiefer, Jackson Road, that area. Not Jackson Highway, Jackson Road. So we're looking forward to, once again, reintroducing ourselves and maybe looking to start to build a good relationship with them. We also, I could not be prouder of our E-minus, S&P thing. So thank you, Matt, for reaching out back to them and doing the work and the data collection. It's just a real huge honor to be able to get from where we were in a very short period of time to an A- status. And it's just because of the staff are so amazing and thoughtful in terms of making sure that we are responsible and budgeting to our needs and maybe not so much to our wants yet. But that's important to have that philosophy and that grounding in making sure we're checking ourselves, that we're not necessarily going too aggressive with the funds that we have available for us. So this is just a sign of really excellent fiscal responsibility. So thank you for not only Matt, but for all of the staff to contribute to that. We are excited to have our new Community Relations Coordinator start. Her name is Tariana Perez. She'll be introduced to the board at a later date. She will be joining Shelby. She has joined Shelby in building our communications division. So we're looking forward to where she's going to bring us to that next level. We had some great programs this past month. I'm super excited that we first offered a teen outreach, not a teen outreach, a teen adventure program. So staff brought a group of teens to city of San Francisco, and they rode bikes through Golden Gate Park. This was the first event of this type, and we're looking forward to possibly offering more. I got a real soft spot for those teens, so I was really excited to see that program take off and go. We also are back in, I'm stealing your thunder a little bit, we're also back with our tours for the seniors, and I'll let Jill expand on that a little bit more if she'd like. But with that, I am going to turn it over to Jill, so I don't steal too much of her thunder and my excitement and all what we're doing. So, Jill.
Well, thank you. As you can see, marketing communications is busy, busy, busy. You've seen them at a lot of the events. I appreciate Shelby, and now she'll have a little bit more of a team heading out to those events. So she's been at the Kids Day at the park. She helped Tammy with the, Arbor Day. She attended the Good Neighbor Day at Sun River. She went to iFest, and all while she's doing the rest of her job. And I just have to give a little bit of a shout out to Shelby. She is one in a million. She is amazing at what she does. She does it with such class, and she has such patience, and she is a valuable resource to us here at the district. So I'm glad that you guys are getting to know Shelby a little bit better, but she's so professional and she's just so accommodating, and we're lucky to have her on our team. So I just want to let you guys know that. Thank you, Shelby. She did redesign a little bit of our web site, so if you have an opportunity, go to our website and you'll see a little bit of a redesign, just a little bit of fresh, fresh look to it, easier for us to navigate. And then we added the Cordova golf course up the top of the page so that people know we have a golf course. And so take a look at it. Shelby is, this is one of her areas she's really an expert in, and so I think you'll be pleased with the baby. It's just a small, but a baby redesign, so appreciate that. As you know, the Cordova Golf Course is still killing it. Really excited about all the improvements that we've made. Parks and the golf course demoed a little bit of an old shed, no, a really old shed out there in the maintenance yard. So I appreciate Parks helping out with that project. And we're gonna get a new storage shed out there here shortly to replace it. So we're just making those baby improvements, but even though they're baby, they're huge in the scheme of things. So I'm glad you guys are out at the golf course enjoying the new improvements. Beach Hut Deli, I don't have any real updates for you. However, I was over at the golf course this morning, and they are making tremendous strides in getting to be open. Our next steps for the golf course is next week, the county will come out and do a rough walk through with Beach Hut Deli. And what that will start is the process for us to be able to finalize the construction inside. So it's kind of like a midway sort of inspection to make sure Beach Hut Deli's, going down the right path, I guess. And then once the county says yes to that, then they can finish up their construction. Then the county comes back out, does their health, and then hopefully we open. So I still cannot give you a date. I don't want to give a date. Don't make me give you a date, but it'll be this summer sometime.
When you meet Mr. Desmond, maybe he will be interested in.
Yeah.
They do.
They can help us.
It's a process. It's just
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. So the new owner. The new owner of Beach Hut Deli, I can confidently say he knows what he's doing. He's doing everything he possibly can to get open because he's losing business himself. He's investing a lot of money. If you have an opportunity, go to the golf course. Chase would be happy to give you a little sneak peek. But you will be amazed by the changes that his name is Kevin, that he's making. I went over today and I was, wow. Even I said wow, which is, yeah, it's amazing. So I still can't give you a time frame. I'm sorry, but it's coming soon. Oh, gosh.
Directors could go out there and make hot dogs and give them away for free.
Oh my gosh, Chase would love for you to go out there and make hot dogs every day.
I'm serious. Then you get some publicity. Why are you doing this? Because it's taking so long to get a permit.
Chase is in, sold.
Our golfers are suffering. I want to talk about my game over a hot dog and beer.
So special events, you guys already mentioned the Meet the Machines. I thought it was a good comeback for us. Yes, correct. We have already been discussing even prior to this year about changing the time of year of Meet the Machines. And it's more not just because of iFest that evening, because they are two very different events. But it's more that the spring seems to be kid-heavy event-wise, where we have the hopping and hunting, then we have Kids Day, and then Meet the Machines, and it's kind of back to back to back. So we're trying to find a better time frame to do that Meet the Machines. So hopefully next year it won't be in May, it'll be at a different time. Yeah, so I appreciate the feedback. The Cordova Community Pool has a new scoreboard. Yay! Which is fantastic. If you didn't go out to the Mermaid Convention, take a look. It's beautiful. The high school used it for their swim meets, and then now our Blue Marlins will be using it as well. So thank you for your support on the scoreboard. It looks fantastic. Unfortunately, we still don't have bleachers. That's another story for another day, but we're almost complete in all the furnishings that we need for Cordova. It's coming. Speaking of recreation and aquatics, pools do open this Saturday for rec swim, for open swim. So excited. They open on Saturday from 1 to 5. It starts the season, which is fantastic. Both pools will be open, as well as the White Rock Splash Park will be open. That's a hard one to say without thinking about it. Classes are just, they're selling out for swim lessons. So we're super excited. We're getting more and more interest in pool rentals. So we're excited for the summer. Very, very excited. We have lots of youth and teen programs, like Patrick had mentioned. Nina's super proud of the NFL flag football. We have our highest numbers that we've ever had in that league, so that's exciting. As well as we have a new Vision Soccer Training Core Skills Soccer Clinic that we've partnered with, and they also are getting good participation numbers. Patrick mentioned the teen programs that we have with the Teen Outdoor Adventures, and we'll continue to look into offering more of those. And then we also offered a Cordova Career Workshop and Job Fair, and it was a collaboration between the Folsom Cordova Community Partnership and us to host career workshops with the high school students. So that was very successful. Brandy and her staff are working very well, both with the high school to try to get high school students to come work for us, but we're also doing some other career fairs. So if they have an interest, whether it's within our district or in the community, it's the appropriate place for us to do that. So I'm glad that they're able to pull that together with some support. Senior programs are going fantastically. We do have our trips and tours are back, which is fantastic. And the seniors, love to go on those trips. So Jenny Taw, as our recreation coordinator, who's back at the Neil Orchard Senior Activities Center, it's her passion. So just stay tuned because we'll get more and more trips offered throughout the year. Parks is just crazy busy as usual. Like Patrick and Matt have mentioned, we've had so many projects this year, and I'm super proud of that team for never saying no, but being able to manage all of those projects. You can see some of them here, where we've got the White Rock Community Parking Lot, where we've resurfaced that, just trying to stay ahead of the maintenance so that we don't have to do a total replacement, that we're able to stay ahead of it and seal it instead of having to replace that parking lot. We've got the Sunridge Park playground surface. Like Secretary Yearwood had mentioned, it looks fantastic that we were able to replace that surface, keeps it safe, as well as it's time. It was time for us to do that. And then district-wide, we have 3 new parking lot gates, which is fabulous. We're hoping to get some more in the future, but for now, we'll take what we can get. We have the gates at the Hagan Community Center. We have gates at the Mather Sports Complex, not only for where the complex center is, for where the softball complex is in the center. We also put a gate now where the soccer fields are. So we're able to close off that soccer field and hopefully eliminate maybe some of activity that happens when we don't want it to happen there after hours. And then at the Stone Creek Community Park. So what happens is that at nighttime, American Guard Service goes around as they're checking the parks. They close the gates, kick everybody out. If there's any cars or anything happening, they kick those cars out. They close the gates, and then our staff in the morning will go around and open them. So we're super excited. We just have a couple more parking lots that will need gates, but we'll continue to work it into the budget as we're able to. And with that, the spray parks and splash parks have been open, but this weekend is when they open for more extended periods of time. Before I get to the special invitations, I did want to thank Patrick for nominating me for the Outstanding Employee of the Year. That really meant a lot to me, so thank you for doing that. I truly appreciate, obviously, your support and the board's support. But I really have to thank the amazing staff, because without them, I don't know. They make it so easy to lead this team. They make it easy. I'm blessed to have a team that I have, And it's really an honor to lead them every single day. And so I want to thank the staff. You guys make it easy to come to work every single day, and you do such an amazing job. I'm really proud of all of you, so thank you for that. It's just fun to have a powerful team and to be able to lead them, and we have a really good time, but we get a lot done. And this community is lucky to have this staff working so hard for them every single day. But thank you, Patrick. I really appreciate that. Thanks. And with that, the special event invitation, obviously the Mermaid Convention already happened, so hopefully you had a really great time. I was gonna say have a really flippin' good time, but I'm not sure if that works or not. Matt's better at the jokes than I am. And then the Senior Information Fair is coming up at the Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center on Monday, June 6th from 1 to 3 p.m. And with that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna, you wanted to say something, Director Sloan? Yeah.
I know that, I want to go back to the pool, because I was just thinking about the possibilities of water polo. And we have the areas that can be, nets could be set up. Do we actually have nets on?
Yeah, we have the goals.
Yeah.
We are working with the high school now to see if they're going to be interested in a water polo team this fall. And so what we'd like to do is start there, try to build up and help them build up their water polo team.
Well, besides that, well, I'll give you a heads up here. Roxanne Tercy,
Okay.
she's a Spanish teacher. She was also an assistant coach on the swim team. She's an All-American water polo player.
Okay.
So, the University of Pacific. So that would be a good connection for us. But besides the high school kids, I'd like, if we could have some type of workshops or introduce the 8-year-olds to it, or 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, whatever it takes to get kids to throw a ball into a net, maybe use smaller balls so they can grip it better. Just to build up that idea about the sport.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that staff is definitely working on different activities for us to have in the pool. And so you'll see those coming up here in the future.
Great,
Yeah.
great, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank
Jill
you.
and Patrick. And now we move on to item J.
Thank you. Item J1 is the articles, correspondence, and public outreach. And J2 is your calendar. And I just wanted to touch base with the board about our preliminary budget work session to make sure that everyone can make it at 4 o'clock on June 15th.
Yeah, if you haven't yet formally responded to Clerk Jones, I'm sure she would appreciate that. Okay. And now we move on to adjournment. And so I am happy to adjourn this meeting at, if I could read my 9:31 p.m. to our next regular board meeting, June 15th at 6:30 p.m., preceded hopefully by a budget work session at 4.